Okay, I think we start now. Good morning, everyone. We are delighted to welcome you to our webinar, Biomethane in Focus, Certification Essentials and Market Outlook. My name is Felix Hellenkamp and I'm part of the marketing team at agriportance. You can find all information about our upcoming events on our website in the events section. This webinar is being recorded and anonymized and will be uploaded to our YouTube channel afterwards. You'll receive the link to the recording via email, most likely by tomorrow. Before we begin, just a quick note. At the end of the webinar, you'll have the chance to ask your questions. Simply type them into the chat and our speakers will be happy to answer them after the presentations. We will start the webinar with a presentation by Stijn van Pell and Art van Steenbergen from Normec, followed by a presentation by Thorsten Nascimento Rohling. To kick things off, we welcome Stijn van Pell and Art van Steenbergen, who will give us a concise insight into the key requirements and success factors in the certification of biomethane. Stijn and Art, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thanks for the introduction. I'm gonna share our screen. So good morning, everyone. We're going to talk today a bit more about ICEU and the certification of especially focused on biomethane. Let's do an introduction by myself. I'm Art van Steenbergen, working 3 years for Normec US, and I'm working as a commercial manager here, so focusing on the new customers that coming to us for the red certification, and I'm going to talk a bit more about Normec in general, and then I give the word afterwards to Stijn for the more technical part.
My name is Stijn van Pell. I'm an auditor and technical manager at the Normec US, specifically for the IC scheme, so mainly ICEU plus and RFMBOs. Furthermore, we do some Dutch double counting, which is biofuels used for the transport sector in the Netherlands, which requires extra verifications. And today, as I had stated, we'll explain some more about the ICEU certification specifically for biomethane.
So the agenda, what I told you already, we will focus today on the biomethane part for ICEU. I will start with a short introduction about Normec in general. Then I give the word to Stijn, and he will give a talk about the Renewable Energy Directive, IC in general, the requirements, the chain of custody, the mass balancing details, GHG, and at last we will talk a bit about the most common mistakes we see in the market from customers. So that's the agenda, and I think like Felix told already, then afterwards there is some time to ask us some questions. So Normec, we fall under the Normec group. Normec is a company that is active in the TIC industry. TIC means and stands for testing, inspection, certification, and compliance. And we are focusing here more on the certification part. Normec is quite big because we have also a private equity in hand, so they're buying a lot of new companies, and at the end the goal is of course to serve companies with a broad portfolio, and all those companies doing something with testing, inspection, certification, or compliance. Headquarters in Amsterdam. We are now based in more than 80 countries. I think last week we opened our first merger in the United States, and our headcount is plus 5,000 people. And I think that's also a bit old, because I think it's a bit more now. We have segmented our entities in different verticals. So there are entities that are doing something more in the food care part, the healthcare, life safety, and sustainability. And of course, our work, our company Normec US is falling under the sustainability as a vertical. And Normec US, who we are, is a recognized independent certification and verification body, and specialized in sustainability schemes. We are active in bioenergy, biogas, biofuels, and renewable hydrogen sector. We do that with a dedicated audit team of experienced auditors, and we're growing a lot. So we do it now, I think, with 12 auditors in total, but hopefully next year there will be a lot more because there's a lot of questions and requests from the market. And we do that providing our services to clients worldwide. All the auditors at the moment are based in the Netherlands. We have our office in Bennekom. It's a village between Utrecht and Arnhem in the Netherlands. But all auditors speaking quite good English. So we do a lot of audits also abroad. Our service includes ICU and Plus. So yeah, Renewable Energy Directive, the ICU and Plus, so that's where we talk about today. We do also the Better Biomass certification. That's more, of course, also a red certification, but more like locally. So we more here in the Netherlands and Belgium. Besides the red, we do also some verification business for the transport industry, like the Dutch double accounting verification, the HBO booking verification, and at least the last one, we do also some work for the SDE subsidy and the EU ATS according to the RVO protocols. So quite a big range of services that we can do in this field. Now I give the word to Stijn for the next part.
Yes, thank you, Art. The Renewable Energy Directive, this is a European directive where multiple sustainability schemes fall under. The big one is IC, which is more internationally known. Furthermore, you have NTA Better Biomass, which is in the Netherlands, 2BS, which is in France, and then you have RedCert, which is a very German scheme. The directive is set to reach our renewable energy targets. Via these certification schemes, you can show compliance with the sustainability requirements, your renewable energy can count towards eligibility for subsidies or other sustainability claims. Then the ICC. So ICC stands for International Sustainability and Carbon Certification. It is actually also situated in Germany. There are multiple schemes that fall under the IC certification scheme. The three big ones are ICEU, which is very much a focus on the biofuels. Then you have IC Plus, which is more on the biocircular products, so packaging. And then you have IC Corsia, which is more on the aviation fuels. Some important system documents about the ICC are system basics. There are some more about the important part are waste and residues, because sustainable energy is produced from a waste or residue. You have traceability and chain of custody. I often refer to this as the Bible of the ICC. Everything you need to know about the certification is included in that system document. And furthermore, a big part is the greenhouse gas emissions. Often when we refer to GHG, it stands for greenhouse gas. And in this document, there are a lot of information formulas on how to calculate your actual CI score, your CO2 score for the production of this specific biofuel. Further templates are available on the website, including a list of materials, because under the ICC, you can only get certified by ICC recognized raw materials, intermediate products, or final products. And all of this is detailed, explained in the ICC website, where you can also register if you want to go further with the ICC certification scheme. Then ICC focuses the audits on four major parts. This is the quality management system, the traceability, the chain of custody, and eventually the GHG calculations and savings. During the audit, we focus on many different things. And in general, it's about the quality management system. So we look at your handbook, your procedures and documentation. Do you have all the ICC procedures specifically included with work instructions, with people who are responsible for certain ICC activities? Do they have the correct training that they know what to do with the ICC activities and how the procedures work? Yearly internal audits are required as well, next to our certification audits, so that you keep track yourself of how you're doing and if you are compliant. And if necessary, you can steer in the right direction and make any corrections. Of course, you need to be able to operate and have a license of what you're doing. And we check at your technical equipment, so weight bridges, flow meters, so that we can actually verify the volumes that you claim, and that is based on a certain accreditation. Traceability. It is important for us to know who are your suppliers and who are your recipients. You will have contracts with them, and for us it is important to verify if they are certified or if they're not certified, because you cannot sell any certified material with a sustainability claim to a non-certified party. This goes to the sustainability declarations. Usually incoming, you will receive a sustainability declaration or a self-declaration, depending on where the chain of custody and certification starts. I'll detail it more later. And on the outgoing part, you will have sustainability declarations and proof of sustainabilities. There's a key difference between all the different statements. Sustainability declaration is for a raw material intermediate product. A proof of sustainability is for a final biofuel, where the eventual savings are calculated. And the self-declarations occur at the point of origins, what we refer to, and this is where the waste or residue occurs. You can follow all of this in the chain of custody. So this is a summary of all your input and your output. And IC recognizes two main ones, which is the mass balance principle and the physical segregation principle, which I will elaborate more on later. And then a big one is the GHG. So here you actually calculate, is your biofuel sustainable enough to claim it as, good enough to claim it as sustainable. And I will refer to some numbers later in the presentation. So important, as I explained earlier, is the traceability. And this is good because that way we can identify the occurrence of the waste and residue and the final biofuel. The whole supply chain should be certified, therefore the whole supply chain is traceable. Of course, the chain of custodies, you have two ways to include all your information, which is the mass balance and physical segregation. It's always important to state that booking and claiming is not allowed under the registry. So the physical link always has to be there. Chain of custody. I've mentioned the term a couple of times already, and this is the whole supply chain of where the waste residue occurs to where it eventually is used in the market. So as an example, you have a farm or plantation or point of origin where a waste or residue occurs. Let's take the example of manure. So a farm has leftover manure, which can be used for the digesters to eventually produce biomethane. The certification starts with the collecting point versus gathering point. This is the first party that needs to be certified, and they have contracts with the points of origins or farms and plantations, which have to be visited on a sample basis to verify that indeed the waste or residue occurs at that location, and that the volumes are plausible via documentation check. From there on, the chain is certified. So in this example, it goes to a processing unit. This can be a digester where the biomethane is actually produced. The volume of this manure is sent forward through a sustainability declaration. This is the incoming volume and proof for the processing unit that the feedstock is sustainable and that they can produce sustainable biomethane. Then eventually, in this case, biomethane is produced and it can go to the market or it can go in trader. Trader is often a party in between who has connections between suppliers and recipients. They purchase the biomethane and sell it. Throughout the whole chain, sustainability declarations are sent matching the volumes and sustainability characteristics. And eventually, in this example, it says sustainability declaration, but when it goes from the trader to the market, it will be a proof of sustainability of the final biofuel, biomethane, with the summary of the CO2 score, which refers to a percentage savings to the fossil reference. And from there on, it can be used in the market. Chain of custody, mass balance. So as explained earlier, there are two main ways that we see in the market that bookkeeping is registered. The most common mass balancing is applied. So as a processing unit, as a biomethane producer, you can buy certified material, but you can also purchase non-certified material. All of this is collected in one big batch and produced in one big batch. So it's mixed. The sustainable molecules are mixed with the non-sustainable molecules. eventually you know how much sustainable molecules you purchased, and on that volume what you produced, you can make a sustainability claim. And on the non-certified material, you cannot make a sustainability claim. So it's very likely that you make a sustainability claim on non-sustainable molecules, but on paper basis, you can link sustainability claim towards it. This is a big difference with the physical segregation, where the sustainable material is always kept and stored separately of the non-certified material. So you have two storages, one sustainable, one non-sustainable. You have one production. You use sustainable feedstocks in there to produce the biomethane. So you know 100% of your input is linked to a sustainable output. Be aware, if you use physical segregation, the whole supply chain has to use physical segregation. If there's only one party in the middle that uses mass balancing, then it's already not possible to claim it as physical segregation as during the mass balancing. The sustainable and non-sustainable materials are combined in one big storage, so the molecules are mixed. So you can never claim it as physical segregation after that. So it's important to be aware of that. Some mass balancing examples. So as I explained, mass balancing, you can have sustainable inputs and non-sustainable inputs. This is all one mix of a batch. So different batches are combined and you have the outputs. So all of these outputs are partially sustainable, partially non-sustainable, looking at the molecules. But in the bookkeeping, you keep them separate. So in the bookkeeping, you have 2 volumes sustainable and 1 volume non-sustainable, which is also in the internal process. But as you can see in the output, you can only claim the volume outgoing that is relevant to the incoming volume, and the non-sustainable volume also matches with the incoming. So this is the mass balancing principles, that you keep the bookkeeping linked to the sustainable and non-sustainable, but the physical is combined. To make it a little bit more difficult, there are also sustainability characteristics linked to these different batches. As an example, country of origin. It's important with the IC that you link the sustainability characteristics to your feedstock. So as an example here, again, you have 3 incoming batches. 2 batches are sustainable, 1 is non-sustainable. Then you have, again, the mix of batch and then the different batches outgoing. But in your bookkeeping, you have to keep the sustainability characteristics separate from each other. So you cannot claim everything under one characteristics, but you have to keep them separate. So in this example, you have the volume from Canada separated from the volume from Argentina and from the USA. And this is kept separate throughout the whole bookkeeping of the mass balance. And this is also linked to the output. As you can see, there are 2 different outputs which are linked to Canada, 2 different outputs linked to Argentina, and 1 different output to USA, where the volumes match with the incoming volumes with the same characteristics. So this is the mass balancing principle. Last but not least is the GHG criteria, so greenhouse gas. There are different ways to calculate it and different links of biofuels. So IC, or GRET, I should say, specifies biofuels, bioliquids, and biomass fuels as 3 different sectors. So biofuels are liquid fuels used for transport, which are produced from biomass. You have the bioliquids, which is used for the other things than transport, such as electricity generation and heating. And then you have the biomass fuels, which is more the gaseous, and solid fuels produced from biomass, which is more relevant for the biomethane producers. GHG criteria. As I mentioned earlier, the CO2 score determines if you can claim your material as sustainable. Throughout the whole supply chain, GHG is calculated, so the CO2 output for the production and the transport. And at the end, you have a total volume of CO2, and you compare it to the fossil reference, which is set by the RED at 94 grams CO2 equivalent per megajoule. Looking at the date of the start of installation, the requirements of savings change. So older installations have less stricter regulations of savings compared to newer installations. And this is due to innovation. Newer installations have better technology than the older ones. So these are the thresholds, and you have to be below that to be able to claim it as sustainable. There are different ways to calculate your GHG. So the red 2 gives you total default values. These are strict values linked to certain feedstocks. So you don't have to do any calculation. You can just use that value for your CO2 score. You have disaggregated, which is a partially default value, which you can use for part of the chain. And then you have the actual. So here you actually calculate the exact CO2 that occurs during the production transport of biomethane. And you can also combine these values. So you can use a disaggregated default value for transport, and you can use an actual for your processing. Then the responsibilities of the chain of custody. So each separate certified party calculates their own CO2 and forwards that information using the sustainability declarations that we discussed earlier. And this way, it is guaranteed that all CO2 throughout the whole supply chain is aggregated at the end and compared to the fossil reference. And then again, it relates to the percentage savings. There's a whole formula. There are many different inputs that are relevant for the CO2 calculation. I won't elaborate into it too much. You can discuss about it the whole day, but yeah, unfortunately, we don't have that. But this is the formula that is applied to or used to determine the CO2 score, and eventually is compared to the fossil reference. The two main ones we see quite often are the emissions for processing, also referred to as EP, and the emissions from transport and distribution, so ETD. Those two are most often relevant for the CO2 calculation. And then we come to the end, where we discuss some common mistakes we see during certification audits. This is sometimes this happens, sometimes it doesn't, but it's good to be aware about these mistakes that are sometimes made within the market. Often companies want to be certified as soon as possible, but they're starting the certification process too late. Plan this in a timely order, also with your CB, to make sure you can get the audit on due time, and also, if everything is correct, the certificate. Linked to this is often a lack of knowledge of the IC. Companies want to be IC certified, but they don't know what IC is. Their supplier said, or the recipient said that they had to be IC certified, so they got an audit, but they have no idea what it is for. This also leads often to underestimation and poor preparation. They just do an audit, no preparation, and often they expect a certificate at the end of the day, while there's actually a whole certification process and audit process linked to it. Sometimes you have inadequate documentation systems, so the procedures are not clear, no signed documents, whatever you want, you can name it. And there are also some errors in mass balancing and incorrect GHG values. So mass balancing, not having the correct sustainability characteristics linked to the volume, or incorrect GHG values applied for the GHG calculations, which leads to an incorrect CO2 number at the end of the chain. These errors can always occur during audits, and then you have some time to fix it. But often very big errors take a lot of time to fixing, so please be aware of that. This is mainly what we would like to discuss with you. If you have any further questions, we'll discuss it later, but also we have some contact information here that you can reach us. And if there's anything, we are happy to help you. And then, yeah, the questions are at the end of the day. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Stijn. Thank you very much, Art. As already said, if you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the chat. Next, we will continue with Thorsten Nascimento Rohling, who is co-founder of agriportance, and he will provide us an up-to-date overview of the biomethane market developments and price trends. Thorsten, the floor is yours.
Okay, many thanks, Felix. Okay, one quick thing, I have to share my screen. And let's see. So you should see any minute. Okay, by now you should see the slides, right?
Correct.
Great. So yeah, I have a pleasure to build on top what Stijn and Art presented here quite skillfully. So and just have to give a small market update. So regarding what current movements we see in the different sectors and what prices are. So yeah, perhaps briefly about agriportance. So we are quite we are a company of 42 employees at the moment. 32, sorry, and have over 570 paying customers in Europe, and a software for compliance management and certification according to Red Hat EU, ISSE, Sure, and other systems where you can build your mass balance, your CI score calculations, other things, but also gas shipments within Germany. And also we act as a broker within Europe for biomethane volumes, liquid carbon dioxide, GHG quota, and so on in different sectors. So therefore, we have also quite a good overview of a market, or at least of parts of a biomethane market. I would like to start with differentiation between subsidized and unsubsidized biomethane, because that has become quite important within Europe in the course of FuelEU Maritime, but also the German Heating Building Energy Act. So we have subsidized volumes where member states subsidize the production, and biomethane can still receive a guarantee of origin, and both GOs can be used and are initially not for compliance. And what we see currently in the market is that, especially in some subsidized markets like Denmark and the Netherlands, those GOs are then transferred and decoupled from gas volumes. So and then serve different sectors like, for example, the Building Energy Heating Act in Germany, the GEG, or FuelEU Maritime, because that is at the moment possible. So, like, for example, there were also some statements. And then we have unsubsidized volumes. There's no direct subsidy from the state, and those volumes, of course, have to be sold at a higher premium because there you simply can't decouple the gas volumes from the certificate so easily. So usually you have to pay both, and as a producer, you need both to create revenue. This is also what the Renewable Energy Directive was envisioning of how a mass balance should work. So if you want to dig deeper there, you could have a look at Article 30 of RED. Okay, so let's have a look of the producers and off-takers of biomethane. We have here different producing countries which are quite strong, like Denmark, obviously quite famous for its huge volumes and a huge part of the overall production, the overall gas volumes and biomethane volumes in the gas grid. Germany, which has quite a large number of biomethane plants and volumes which are produced. The Netherlands, obviously strong. At the moment, there are also quite a lot of plants under construction and projects in Spain, Poland, the Czech Republic, and also in Ukraine. So there are also quite a few biomethane plants. And at least with the current draft of the RED III implementation for Germany, just to give you a small excuse, it could be possible that volumes from third member states, so for third party states to the European Union, could actually export gas volumes to the European Union. So far, this isn't possible. I mean, the pure gas export, of course, is possible, but not that you could export the compliance and the certificates as well, and then use those in different markets, different compliance markets within Europe. Among the off-takers, Germany is, of course, one of the larger off-takers of volumes. Switzerland and UK, and of course further states where there are also different obligations and compliance schemes for biomethane. And you have seen here potentially also that Denmark and the Netherlands are highlighted with an asterisk. That is because they are able to switch between subsidy and compliance markets within their own country, or compliance markets according to rewrite and renew the LNG directive in other countries, like for example Germany. This is important because you may missing among the producers France. They also have quite a high number of biomethane plants, but exports don't happen that often. So you have to, as a French producer, you have to be out of subsidy schemes, and that is only the case for really a few plants at the moment. So that is, although the production volumes are high, this is not really the case at the moment, but large exports are happening. Yeah, perhaps a small update regarding the paperwork. So UDB, the Union Database for Biofuels, at least for the gaseous biofuels, got delayed for another year. So beginning of this year, most market participants were expecting UDB for biomethane to be launched by beginning of 2026. This was delayed due to several issues which have to be sorted out, like for example, how to deal with guarantee of origin registers and so on, and how to get the approval of different member states for potentially another year. So at the moment, it's more like that in 2027, a start could happen for the gaseous biofuel part. Yeah, so perhaps another point is that currently there are different guarantee of origin or certificate of origin schemes or registers for the cross-border transfer of GOs. So far there was especially ERGA, which transferred, for example, also dinner biogas register volumes to other countries, or Energinet and Vertiser. At the moment, there is a second player emerging, so AIB, the Association of Issuing Bodies, and that was nominated by different member states as the organization to facilitate cross-border transfer of GOs in the biomethane sector. Like for example, Germany did that, but the Netherlands as well, as far as I'm informed. And that means that we have now two organizations basically taking care of cross-border transfer, but especially of GOs for the POSs with proofs of sustainability that will be part of UDB. And in the meantime, a lot is happening via NBC still, and especially with FuelEU Maritime, we saw the re-emergence of blue POS. So perhaps it's also interesting to have a market size comparison of subsidized versus unsubsidized volumes. The overall production of biomethane, here we see that, for example, 13 terawatt hours were probably produced in 2023 in Germany, 7.5 in UK, 7.4 in Denmark, and 2.9 in the Netherlands. And the estimation here on our side is that 65% were subsidized volumes and 35% unsubsidized volumes. So the subsidized volumes is by far the larger part at the moment, although since 2023 we have a few things might have changed actually. So, but that is important to know for future developments, because currently a lot of the subsidized volumes are flowing into FuelEU Maritime, which had also some effect on other markets where these volumes served prior. Perhaps also an overview of the pricing of biomethane, the price determining factors. So, as already mentioned, the sustainability characteristics and greenhouse gas quota price are important parts. Like this is the compliance part. which with which you get the premium, so to say, for the natural gas price. So this is the other component. So you basically have these two components, but at first there's the natural gas price, like you can get it from the TTF or THE, and then the greenhouse gas quota prices, and the greenhouse gas quota prices or subsidy prices and so on. This is the add-on which justifies then the higher production costs in case of biomethane producers, because in general the costs of biomethane production are higher than the natural gas price. So here some kind of premium is necessary to make biomethane production viable for producers. Yeah. Yeah, I think we had the basics of the GHG calculation. Therefore, I will switch over that slide and not re-explain it, and instead focus on the natural gas price, which is the first component. So as you can see here, in 2021 we had prices at TTF which were between 1 to 3 cents per kilowatt hour. And at the moment, this it has we calibrated at 3 to 5, something like that. So one of the main reasons for this price increase was the energy crisis due to the invasion of Ukraine from Russia, and therefore the stop of Russian gas imports. So there you also see that prices were way higher, and in this period, 2022 to 2023, even biomethane production became viable, and biomethane was used as a substitute for natural gas at that time. Okay, then let's have a look at the GHG quota prices, which is the price determining factor, or the add-on the German market offers. So you are able to see here that we have different quota prices according to Argus, which is one of the main price providers in Europe. And the interesting thing here is that currently we have this double counting quota, like that is this doppelt anrechenbare fortschrittliche THG-Quote in 2025, where currently the prices are between 390 to 440 euros per ton carbon dioxide equivalent. And even for other quota, we have prices of 200 to 212 euros per ton. And for the year 26 and 27, already prices between 305 to 340 euros and 225 to 253 euros per ton carbon dioxide equivalent. One of the main reasons for this price increase in 2025 is that different options for price fulfillment, like biodiesel imports and upstream emission reductions, became less of an option because there were basically reports about fraudulent upstream emission reduction projects, which of course now can no longer generate quota. And also with biodiesel import, there were some doubts if all of these volumes really are completely according to the standards the systems we're expecting, although we were certified. And there I think the European Union also issued some taxes and quotas that you can't import that anymore, and or not in the volumes we're used to. And due to the lack of these fulfillment options, prices increased in 2025. The interesting thing is that in theory, those quota prices would enable higher biomethane prices. This is not happening due to the fact that filling station capacities and trucks fueled on CNG or bio-LNG are currently not that much running on the streets, but they can basically take all the biomethane which is currently there to be fueled. For 2026 and 2027, one or two of the main factors where prices are increasing are at the one side that in the draft for RED III implementation, there is the idea in Germany to cut double counting for advanced biofuels. So to have just single counting here. That of course increased the quota prices. And for 2027, there are also some market rumors that not all of the GHG quota can be transferred from 2024 to 2027, which is still stored in the accounts. So if you remember, 2024 there was then a cut for the transfer of GHG quota to give a market or give the market participants time to breathe and uh, here we heard first rumors that maybe not all of the quota which is still available can be transferred. So therefore, you have also quite high prices here already. Yeah, pricing for German biomethane. That might be also interesting for you. So you see here that the huge prices for biomethane on the spot market decreased steadily from 2022 until 2024. So this was the more or less the absolute low, then it decreased a bit and got low again. And at least for the fuel biomethane, this MENU minus 100 gram carbon dioxide equivalent per megajoule quality. Currently, we see a slightly increase to already 12 cents per kilowatt hour. And in case of the EEG volumes, that is a German subsidy scheme for the offtake of biomethane and usage in CHP plants. And waste and residue biomethane, so this plus 10 quality, actually we still saw some kind of decrease, unfortunately. So yeah, here we are more at the price range 7 to 8 cents currently, which is in some cases right at the production cost, in some cases even below production costs for those volumes. So what are the reasons here? So one obvious reason is that due to the turbulences on the market, quite a few German CHP plants shut down their production. So the biomethane CHP plants, that is important to mention here. And therefore there is less demand. But this is kind of interesting because although the fuel sector is the sector which everyone is looking at in Germany, the EEG sector, that is the one where most of the volumes are produced for in Germany, if you remember these 13 terawatt hours year annual production. And for the waste and residue volumes, there was a bit more of demand, but for especially for the UK market. But yeah, those are served at the moment. In case of the manure volumes, we think that here probably an increase happened also because a lot of these volumes from the subsidized markets like Netherlands and Denmark went to FuelEU Maritime, which prior were exported to the German market. And therefore, there is more demand for this fuel quality biomethane at the moment. Okay. I mentioned already the FuelEU Maritime a few times, so therefore I would like to explain a few things. This is specifically European law to increase or to establish emission reduction targets for the maritime sector. So for especially for large ships like container ships and cruise ships and both kind of ships. And at the moment, it is that we have here certain GHG thresholds for the reduction, which will steadily increase from 91 grams in 2020 to 18.2 gram carbon dioxide equivalents per megajoule in 2050 and plus. So here we have ambitious reduction targets also mirrored in this graph. So and here bio-LNG is an interesting opportunity to already generate a lot of surplus to save basically emissions. Because if you fuel a bio or an LNG ship with bio-LNG, and you can take these minus 100 qualities, it is easy to reach those targets for your complete fleet. So this is kind of an interesting option, which is evaluated at the moment in the market. But at the same time, since the IMO regulation was not passed, there is also some pressure on the FuelEU because this is then one of a few ambitious reduction markets for the maritime sector in the world at the moment. So here the EU is again leading, but I mean you have to kind of justify that to your populations if the economy isn't growing that strong. So I already mentioned that we have here an increase of prices of subsidized volume. So what you see here is the price for certificate per megawatt hours in euros for these three different qualities. So minus 100 carbon dioxide equivalents per megajoule, a mixture like of waste and manure with minus 50, and a pure waste certificate. And what you clearly see here is that the minus 100 increased by far the largest. So if you have a look here at 2025 and how prices evolve, we have here at the beginning prices here between 20 and 25 euros per megawatt hours, which largely increased since the second quarter of this year to in case of a minus 100 volumes, even above 70 euros per megawatt hour. If you add up the TTF price for the natural gas, you nearly have price parity with unsubsidized volume. So this is also one of the reasons why those markets got also more demand, like especially for this quality of minus 100 gram equivalents per megajoule gas. And that's it from my side. I don't know if there are any questions.